Here's a starter to allow us to explore the content of the previous lesson. Work through the starter, the answer will be revealed in the next part of the video, so only move on when you are ready to see the answer. So you've been asked for each of the cows to write down their possible genotypes. The dominant form of the coat colour is brown to the recessive form, which is rainbow. For the brown-coated cow, they could be big B, or big B, small b. The rainbow has to be small b. They are recessive. Key area 4 of multicellular organisms, genetic information. Today our learning intention is looking at the patterns of inheritance, and we want to investigate these patterns. Page 15 of our pupil booklet outlines our success criteria as indicated on the screen. In a little bit more detail, our differentiated success criteria looks at you to be able to describe the pattern of inheritance of a single characteristic from parent to offspring. We need you to be able to state and apply the terms parents and F1 and across, and apply your knowledge of phenotypes and genotypes to different examples of genetics crosses. Here we have the opportunity for you to explore some of the genetics glossary terms that we've covered so far. We have 7 terms. How many of these terms can you identify? Number 1 should be recessive, the characteristic seen less commonly within a population. Number 2 is dominant, the characteristic seen more frequently within a population. Number 3 is gene. A gene is a small piece of DNA that codes for the production of a specific protein. Genes control a characteristic. 4 is genotype, the genetic material of an organism. 5 was phenotype, the physical characteristics of an organism. We use P to represent the parent generation and F1 to represent the first offspring. Remembering back to last lesson, we had the bobbits. The parents were brown and white coats, and when they were crossed, they produced the F1, which all had brown coats. From this, we identified brown coat colour as being dominant, white being recessive, and we identified the parents as being homozygous or true breeding, with the offspring and their big B, small b genotype as being heterozygous or hybrids. In this video, we're going to look at another cross between our furry friends, the bobbits. In class, your teacher would show you a very quick animation where we see 2 bobbits of the same coat colour in the parent generation. When watching the clip, you would have been asked to try and figure out what the genotypes of the parents must have been. From the cross, we saw that a parent generation that had 2 brown-coated individuals produced an offspring where we actually saw a mix in the coat colour. We got some brown and some white. The question that's being posed, why are we suddenly seeing white-coated offspring from 2 brown-coated parents? If we take some time to unpick the genotype and the phenotype from these individuals. We have 2 brown-coated parents. When they reproduce, they produce individuals who have both brown and white coat. What must this tell us about the genetic information that both of the parents must contain? If we attach in now what we call the genotype, we should start to unpick why some white-coated offspring appeared. Both parents must have been what we call heterozygous. So they must both have contained a big B, which allowed them to have a brown coat, but they must both have had a small b, which represents the white coat, for them to have been able to produce white-coated offspring. When representing this cross, we make use of what's called a Punnett square. If we take the genetic information from the parents and assign it to the Punnett square, it helps us to identify why some of the offspring are brown and why we have a small number that are white. Taking the genetic information from the male, he will pass on either big B or small b to his offspring. The female will do the same. As we look to figure out the possibility of the offspring genotype, we take genetic information from each parent and match them together. If we match the first two combinations from the parents, we would have an offspring that has the genotype big B, big B. If we take the second combination, the potential offspring would have a genotype big B, small b, as we would see with the third possibility. But look what happens with the fourth possibility. There is a chance that both parents could pass on a small b to their offspring. That would allow us to see the range of genotypes and phenotypes within the offspring. So the potential phenotypes would be brown to white. For every 4 offspring, 3 would be brown and 1 would be white. Here we have a genetics problem from Bikini Bottom. SpongeBob SquarePants recently met Susie Roundpants at a dance. SpongeBob shows the dominant characteristic of SquarePants, but is not true breeding. Susie has round pants and is recessive. What would their potential offspring be? To solve this problem, we need to use a Punnett square. We have to identify the genotype of SpongeBob and Susie. SpongeBob is dominant, but is described as not true breeding. So it means his genotype is big S, small s. Susie is recessive, so she is small s, small s. We match genetic information from SpongeBob with Susie in each of the squares. So big S from SpongeBob, small s from Susie gives this offspring the genotype big S, small s. Continuing through the Punnett square, you match top and side for each of the boxes. This would give us the possible genotypes of big S, small s and small s, small s. That would give us the possible phenotypes of 2 square to 2 round. We can simplify this to 1 square to 1 round. In class, you would be offered this genetics task for you to complete and assess your understanding of the content of this video. You have the opportunity to explore the success criteria. Read through the success criteria, gauge your understanding, and if you need to revisit any aspect of the video, please feel free to do so. We have a plenary task here, where you are exploring your knowledge of the term genotype, phenotype, and dominant, and you have to apply these terms to the genetics cross shown. We have a second opportunity for you to assess your understanding of this topic by answering the questions as appear on the screen in front of you.